First of all, thank you very much for coming, and I always appreciate being able to get in front of you guys and answer whatever questions you have. We kind of need to wrap this up by 5, so I think I've got some things that I can talk about, but I thought this was all about you guys, so I've got Scott and Sarah here, and if we don't have the answers, we will try to get them for you. But again, I appreciate it, you guys coming and spending your time here, because obviously, that we don't know until you guys ask us the questions. So I'll just open it up. Yes, sir.
I'll start right off. What are we doing on the infrastructure? Like, the government's got this thing for affordable internet, etc. Does the city have any plans to try to woo somebody in? Because I called the phone company and they told me, and I live on this main drag, and they told me, quote unquote, that if they hooked me up, it'd be worse than a 56K modem. But other people in the city, depending on where they are, they get the high speed. And there's nothing wrong with Coast, except the price is very, very expensive. But so I was wondering, do you guys have any plans to try to help us get that up and going?
Not directly, because the way that, and again, how the internet works, that we actually have high-speed internet coming in. We have fiber. PUD gives that, except our PUD is not retail, they're just wholesale. So any phone company can hook up to the PUD and get that high speed. Now, probably where you live, you're probably off of, not on one of the main roads.
No, I'm on Point Brown, that's what's amazing.
Then have you checked to see whether or not you can get better service from the phone company?
Yeah, I've checked everybody I've checked with. It's it mainly was the phone company, because I have one of those things in my yard.
Right.
And they told me it'd be the equivalent of 56K.
Yeah, well, and that's probably if they're using the phone line, that is. But you should have the ability, if you're on Point Brown, because there's fiber that runs straight down Point Brown, and you should be able to pull off of that. There might be a fee to get you off of that line into your house. Do you have my email address?
Yeah.
Send me the email of what your address is. Let me ask somebody about it, because I know, like for instance, the convention center, when I first became mayor, wasn't on high-speed internet per se, and I knew that we had fiber cable running right by it, and so combination of working with the PUD and Coast, we were able to connect here, so we've got fast internet here. So you may be in the same thing, but send me the email, give me the address, and I'll look into it.
Thank you.
Okay? All right. Susan.
Thank you. Yes. This is about the fire chief. When the fire chief was speaking to the council and talking about wanting an assistant fire chief, he mentioned succession. And many of us assumed that would mean that when he retired, that the assistant fire chief would then become the fire chief. And I'm understanding now that is not the case.
Well, that could be the case. I mean, I think that because we talked about that, but I think that the right thing for the city to do is to explore all possibilities. So Brian Ritter has already told me that he is going to apply for that position. But I think it's, to me, I don't know what's out there. And to me, it's such an important position that I want to say that I looked wherever I could look to get the right person for the fit with it. So Brian could be our next fire chief. I don't know, could be somebody else, but I've always felt that it's important for us to cultivate our own in-house team, because they understand the culture and everything, but it doesn't hurt to always look on the outside, and it doesn't actually cost us anything more to look on the outside. And again, Brian is going to interview it. He's already turned in his application, and he may be our choice.
And he will be interim, will he, until you find someone?
Well, it depends on how fast, because I think it'll close before, well, Mike is still here.
April 1, so it's going to close before he's here. Is this
You're not
working?
plugged in.
I thought it was working
No.
earlier.
Pull your wire.
Oh, your wire's
Yeah, well, that explains it. Okay.
Sorry.
All right, well, now it's even more different. Give me a minute.
And just use one.
Yeah, I'll just use yours. Yeah, sorry about that. Here, we'll switch. This is like 3-card money now. If you can find out which one the microphone doesn't work, then you win a prize. Yeah, so could we repeat the question one more time just so I answer in full?
So is Brian going to be the interim fire chief?
So Mike will be leaving, 1st of April will be his last day, and I believe that's 25 years to the date that he actually began here. So that's pretty special. And if we complete that search and complete that process, then no, but if we're, if we haven't completed that process, then Brian will probably become the acting chief. I mean, I don't see another way around that, but it just depends on what we find. And the applications are open, and we're waiting to see what we get.
And it more has to do with just the time frame, because if it is like, say it's 1 month, then he would have the responsibility just like if Mike was on vacation. But if it's going to be longer because of background checks or whatever, we'd make him the interim chief with it. But yeah, again, when we interviewed for the assistant chief, that we opened up for everyone to apply. Brian applied. I wasn't sure if Brian was going to get it, and he interviewed the rest of anybody for the assistant chief. So I'm not saying that he's going to get it, but he's applying and he has a very opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay? Yes.
I'm a little behind on time. Any updates on the golf course and new management?
Well, that's on my list of things to talk about, so I can talk about it. The golf course, as you know, Kurt has decided that he doesn't want to continue running the golf course. We put out the RFP, and we had to put it out twice. First one that we got 0 responses. Second one, we got 3 responses. They all are on course management. So it's going to be a different model than what Kurt had. We have put together a committee that's going to review it. And we've got a scoring thing, and we've got questions to ask. All 3 presentations, I will tell you that if we take any one of them, the golf course will be significantly different than how it is today with it. Just because if you just look at the things that they're thinking about doing, such as marketing and things like that, is just not what our golf course does. There's a fee, and so all 3 of them have a expectation that we pay them a monthly fee, and then we get revenue back from whatever we generate on people that are actually playing. We haven't really done the detail as far as the math goes, but there's probably a really good possibility that it's going to end up costing the city more money than we are currently paying for Kurt, but it is going to be a different product.
And the change in the contract, which the public would be able to see?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Once we get going, because for us to move forward, the council is going to have to approve whatever we decide to do, and the contract will definitely need to be redone because it wouldn't even be close to anything that's been presented to us. Yeah.
The golf course contract report is coming up soon. The golf course contract report.
Oh yeah.
It's
That's
coming up this week, next week, or next month, I'm not sure.
For March 13th.
So will that be presented at council?
yeah, March 13th.
Report. Okay.
Yeah.
And we will be able to read it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever we get, and I know that the RFPs are online too, right? No, they weren't. No. I'm talking about the stuff that we sent out for the people to bid on. No.
Jenny sent them out to everybody that asked, because if there's any
Oh,
changes,
if they didn't ask, that's right. That's right.
if there's
So-
any addendums or something like that, then
Okay.
those wouldn't be
Right.
updated.
But yeah, we will. It will be reported.
Over the years, we haven't gotten those reports.
And I would say that there's been some opportunities, but I will tell you that whatever one of the 3 that we accept, that there's monthly reporting. I mean, the transparency would be dramatically different than where we are right now, because of how the contract is going to be written with it. There's someone over, yes, Nani.
Will that include like the golf carts? Are we going to be, the city will be buying new ones, or is it part of your contract that the?
Well, that's part of, each one is a little bit different of how they're going to be dealing with what it takes to run a golf course with it. So those are questions that we have to ask, and how that integrates with, because Kurt owns like the golf court, the carts with it, and how that works. So again, there's a lot of question. I mean, the more we read it, the more questions we have, but we haven't actually sat down to do it. But yeah.
Does that include the equipment, like the mower and the weed
Yeah.
eater?
Mhm.
All that belongs to Kurt? Or-
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is I had a talk with somebody that was out there, because I have property over there on the golf course. And the guy was trimming around the controls for the sprinkler system. But we kept telling them that on the boundary line where the golf course property is and the homeowner's property is, there's like this bunch of weeds. And all he has to do is come by and weed whack the darn thing. And is it our responsibility as homeowners to take care of the golf courses, grass and weeds? You know, that's really, I couldn't understand that.
And without looking at whatever the contract is and exactly in there, I don't know. But again, sometimes I know that when you deal with employees, sometimes employees maybe don't do as much as they could or should or whatever.
But the other thing is, you got some trees on the golf course itself that is not in the best shape. A couple of them are weak and will fall eventually. So wanted to find out, like, are you aware of this? Is there somebody that can go around and check the health of these trees that are on the golf course? It would either fall on somebody playing or on somebody's house or the power lines that are there at the golf course.
Well, those would be the responsibility of whoever manages the golf course. So I can't say that I personally have inspected the trees out there with it, but I know that they've taken some trees down that were problems, but that's who's ever running the golf course is actually ultimately their responsibility. Okay, other questions? Yes, Gene.
So there's been a lot of buzz again, a lot of people bringing up water quality and stuff in Ocean Shores in different areas. And I had pulled up, I've got the 2022 water quality monitoring schedule here. And I asked some questions about it, if you could answer them for me. But when it goes under monitoring requirements, under herbicides, it says there's a 9-year waiver on that. And the last time it was tested was February 12th of 2015. There's like a 3-year waiver on pesticides and a couple more. Can you explain to me why we have a 9-year waiver on testing for herbicides?
It's interesting that you would bring that up, because one of the things as mayor that I'm realizing that we need to take a look differently on environmental issues within Ocean Shores. It's just from a staffing point of view, because there's always complicated issues that I don't really know what the answers are. So we've been looking at, are there consultants that are a possibility that can help support us? But on that one, I know we came up, and I know that Scott, you were
Yeah, I can answer that. So that's with the water department. They work in conjunction with the Washington State Department of Health, and the Washington State Department of Health has a water division that does water quality ratings, and it's the Washington State Department of Health that grants those waivers. We don't ask for them; they're given to us based on our past performance. So if we have a period of 5 to 7 years where we've had no issues with that water quality, they will grant us a waiver. And they do that in every city, in all municipalities across the state of Washington. It's not just us. And the reason that they do it that way is because a lot of these tests are extremely expensive to run. And they're costly and they're time consuming. So it's just all based on performance, and this is what these are not anything that the city of Ocean Shores does. We turn in our reporting, we turn in our sample analysis, and then based on our performance, if it's been adequate for an X number of years, the state then gives the city a waiver. But this is the same way across all cities.
So my concern, of course, is with our water table and where it is and everything out here, and we already know that we're trying to do, at least I know Fresh Waterways is trying to do an educational with informing people what not to use and things like that. So if it was a state that gave you the waiver, if you were concerned, could you ask to go ahead and have the test done even though you have the 9-year waiver on it?
I mean, I suppose in theory there'd be nothing illegal about preventing the water department from running those tests. It's a cost thing, and it's a time thing for them to do that. And I don't know exactly how the water department. I mean, I know how they submit the reports in that process. It's more of a question to have to ask Matt Tober, who runs the water department. But I can ask that.
Okay, yeah, if you wouldn't mind. It's just a concern with the, of course, all environmental out here, and then 9 years just seems like an awful long time to give a waiver for herbicides and pesticides and things like that. So, all right, thank you.
We can definitely look at it, but again, that goes back to that there are questions that say that you have that I don't know. Matt probably does, because Matt's very, very.
It's been here 35 years. I'm sure he's
right, and he's gone to the classes. But a lot of things that we don't, that I need advice. I mean, I need somebody that knows what the rules are, because I would say that environmental rules are getting stricter and stricter. And what can we do and we can't do, and anything that we, as far as building in Ocean Shores, it impacts it. So, but we can check. But the bigger thing is, again, not knowing actually what the report is. What is the cost of the report, and what is the impact, one way or the other. But we can look at that. Yes, sir.
To follow up on that, Matt, I had a question, and he got back to me in 2 days. He's very easy to talk to. He won't overshoot you, so you may be able to. Because but you may be able to just direct an email directly to him. And like I said, he answered my question. He was very nice about it, and I was really surprised he contacted me. It's like, cool.
Nice.
So anyway, so he's very approachable.
Okay. And you had a question.
Yes, about the possibility of, good evening, City Hall members and fellow residents. Just a short one page here. I'm here today to discuss the issue of backyard chickens and the current ordinance that prohibits residents from keeping them within city limits. I believe that allowing residents to keep a small number of chickens in their backyard would be a positive change for our community, and I will explain why. First and foremost, backyard chickens can provide a sustainable source of fresh, healthy eggs for families. Not only do fresh eggs taste better than store-bought eggs, but they also are more nutritious, as they are typically higher in protein, omega-3, fatty acids, and other vitamins and minerals. By keeping chickens in their backyard, residents can reduce their carbon footprint and promote sustainable living. In addition, chickens are also great pets and can provide a unique and enjoyable experience for families. They're low maintenance, quiet, and can even help with pest control in the yard. Children can learn important lessons about responsibility, animal care, and where their food comes from by helping to care for the chickens. Furthermore, allowing residents to keep chickens can also promote a sense of community and social interaction. Neighbors can share eggs, tips, and even coop building materials, which can lead to stronger bonds and friendships among residents. Additionally, community gardens and urban agriculture initiatives can benefit from the use of chicken manure as their natural fertilizer. I understand that some concerns may arise regarding noise and cleanliness, but these concerns can easily be addressed by implementing reasonable regulations and guidelines for keeping chickens. Many cities across the country have successfully implemented backyard chicken ordinances with positive outcomes for residents and the community as a whole. In conclusion, allowing residents to keep chickens in their backyard can provide numerous benefits for their community, including sustainable living, fresh eggs, and a sense of community. I urge you to consider amending the current ordinances and allowing the residents to keep a small number of chickens in their backyard, and perhaps getting it off the table, as it were. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that, because I was on the council when we debated chickens before, and actually if you had chickens, you'd probably be doing pretty well financially right now if you were laying eggs. During that time on the council, we never actually came to a vote, yes or no. And I had looked at a lot of, I mean, you're right, there's a lot of cities out there that allow, I think Seattle actually allows chickens with it. That would be a council decision, so the council would have to bring that forward. It was very divisive at that time, and one of the things that is there, that the City of Ocean Shores has covenants. So covenants kind of oversee some of our ordinance, and so you would have to get the approval of neighbors to agree with it. I'm not saying it's not possible, because technically, I think the council decided to table it, so they never voted it down, but they never voted it forward, so it's still out there on the table with it. So my suggestion is for you to contact some council members, see if they want to do anything with it. It was quite the discussion when it was here before with it. So, but thanks for coming. Richard.
So I remember a lot of that discussion, and my question is, it is in the covenants that farm animals, chickens, are not allowed. Can the council somehow address that covenant and change that covenant?
At that time, and again, it's one of those things we can always look and maybe get different looks, but my understanding is the covenants were the foundation. You need to get the covenants changed. So you could get covenants because there's different areas, so you could get a covenant changed in one area, then the city would go through, and I think that's where the council kind of ended up, that it was kind of the chicken and the egg, right? That probably needed to have the covenants go first, and then the council could follow behind it with it. But again, it was a lot of discussion.
A lot of discussion.
Yeah, right. Yes, sir.
Is a covenant sort of like the Constitution? We'd have to put in some sort of an amendment, or the city?
It's like a homeowners association type of thing. In some cities you can only paint your house a certain color. That's kind of what that is. But it was put in when this was privately owned. It wasn't a city. So it goes way back when, and we'd probably have to get some legal advice of exactly what the process would be with it. But again, to do anything, the council kind of has to say, hey, we need to do something or not do something. But yes.
So I recently bought a house here, and I was not told of any covenants that the city as a whole has. So how do I even find out what they are?
We have them. We can get. Yeah.
Are they online?
Well, your realtor, they kind of should disclose that kind of thing immediately. Go, Jan, did you want to say something?
It should have been in her title.
It said there was no HOA. I knew that, but
It's on your grant deed.
Is in your title packet when you bought.
okay. So I'll find page 54B or something.
That is where you're gonna find it.
Yeah, it's just that's a surprise to me because I wasn't aware that there were citywide covenants. So it'll be interesting to try and locate those.
That's right, Susan and.
I'll just add a comment. Those covenants are available at the permit office. She has a folder in there, so you can go and read them in there. My question is on the Building Code Board of Appeals. And as you know, there were several of us who were concerned that that board did not have any members, and we asked the council not to move forward with the item on Monday because of that. So my question to you is, on that Building Code Board of Appeals, there are some fairly strict requirements in terms of who can be on that board. Is that something that you would be able to change those requirements? Is it the council or you? And the reason I'm asking is because I can see the reason for having some people with expertise. But if you have an appeals process, you may very well find that someone's coming in to speak to you from an emotional perspective. Maybe their husband died, and this is the reason why their property is in such a condition. So I was thinking that you could have maybe a person that wasn't an architect or a contractor or something like that, as well as your required personnel. And also, in some of your job descriptions for the city, you quite often say, we require this particular qualification, but if you've got something that's kind of like it, will allow you to do it. So I'm suggesting that you might want to look at the descriptions for the people that you need. You might be able to get those positions filled by other folks, because all we've heard for years is that we can't find anybody qualified. And again, if you bring something forward, we're going to come up to you and say, no, you don't have anybody on appeals board process for people to appeal.
Okay, let me, because actually you're talking about two different things with it. So the one that we're talking about for the abatement of that process, that would be a totally separate board with it. And the vision, at least the last vision that I saw, is that the vision is you would have 3 members that would be on that board. And that would be for just abatement. So that'd be, we're abating your property, it's not livable, you want to appeal. So there's that one. So that's a total separate thing other than the 5 that we're talking about. Those 3, well, because we haven't passed the ordinance, so we don't have it. But those 3 probably would be kind of a building person, but at least the one that I saw that we're working on, that would be, that board would be filled only when there is an appeal process, only when we have a property that we're abating. But again, the ordinance hasn't come back to the council, hasn't even gone to the ad hoc committee to review it. But that's kind of where we're looking. So the first part, you would go to the building official and go, hey, that the building official would be one that starts the process. Then you could go to the building official, and the building official goes, okay, so this is the concerns I have about your property. You have 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month to fix whatever it's going to be. Because obviously, if there is a ability to cure, that's what we want them to do. But if he says no, then it goes to this board, that 3 members, to go, we agree that you shouldn't be living in this place, and we're running it. So there's that. As far as their qualifications, we haven't got there because we haven't brought that before the council. We haven't talked to the ad hoc committee with it. So that's a work in progress. So go back to the 5, and you're right, that has been on there since before I was even on the council, and I think, and what happens in Ocean Shores is we change rules, but we don't go back and change what the other part of it. We've never had an appeal in the past, I think we looked at 15 years. We've never had an appeal. That board has never been utilized. And the reason is because we use a hearing examiner. So the hearing examiner is really kind of our appeal, where they go through and you do the appeal process. And if you don't like what the hearing examiner has, the next step would be that you go to the council. And so the council is actually our board of appeals if you're going through that hearing examiner. But most of the hearing examiners, either they agree with it or they don't agree, because I don't think we've really had that many appeals off of the hearing examiner. Usually it's, you got to fix this, or you got to come back with more information. So we're going to dissolve that five-person board. There's no purpose for it. I mean, we've never used it. It sits there. People ask questions. I mean, I used to ask that question. Well, why don't we ever fill it? And I always got the same answer. Well, you got to have these all qualified people. And then as we're going through this new one that we're going through, I just ask our building, what is the purpose of this board? Why don't we ever use it? Will we ever use it? And how that we're doing it, as long as we're using the hearing examiner, there's no purpose.
So would the process be the hearing examiner, the council, and then court action if somebody didn't like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the steps are in place. So it would be kind of no point, because if they went to that, they didn't agree with it, there's still more steps they can go. But we haven't done anything.
So it's just a matter of cleaning that up and making that.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those things. It's like, well, that's a good question. Why? And then, well, because you'll never use it. Yeah. But so it saves me time to read it every meeting. But,
thank you.
So Lillian.
I was back on the chickens.
Okay. Okay. Right.
One of the things that came up last time, and it did go on ad nauseum, but there are established processes for changing the covenants. And it requires that you get the community together and petition for a change in the covenants. Not quite that simple. Takes a lawyer, but it is spelled out. And if you look at, it's in the RCW, it's probably the easiest way to go back through our archives. And there is a way laid out to have that happen, just no one has done that. It has happened here before in Ocean Shores, Division 17. Division 17 got one of their covenants changed, not the chicken one, but another
The chicken
one.
one did have a petition.
Do you know how many signatures they require?
It requires a lot.
Well, Susan says it's 60%, so Susan says it's 60%. I don't know if that.
More than 60% on the covenant change.
Right. But it's out there. I mean, but I know we probably could pull our minutes from way
Well,
back there.
And we still have the petition.
Yeah. And we had a petition of, I think it was 200 or, I mean, it was a lot.
It was a lot, but it's I mean, you have to have, and it has strict guidelines of what the petition has to have on it, and,
Yeah. Right. Jane.
I just wanted to add to that, part of the debate on that, and especially recently, is a lot of the avian and bird flu that's been going around, a lot of the diseases that's been killing chickens, and it's been a concern with our wildlife and making sure that, if that's brought in, that we're not going to make the wildlife around here susceptible to those diseases also. So that was one of the arguments, just so you know, with it. So.
I don't know if that was one of the arguments where the council was talking.
I
think that was before we even knew about avian.
No, this has been recently.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. Because I don't have to recall that as our conversation. Richard.
So Lillian brought us a subject that I was trying to search on FilePro, actually several times, but I was on FilePro earlier today, searching for something specific, and you can eventually find things on FilePro, but it's really, really cumbersome. My search came back with, 700 responses, and I'm not going to look through 700 things on FilePro. My question then is there something in the works that can streamline and make FilePro or whatever filing system we use easier to access the specific data that I'm looking for, that anybody's looking for?
That sounds like
Sarah's
question.
see, you gave me the broken one.
You want?
No, it's okay, it'll stop. Okay. No, it's garbage.
All right, you want mine? Here we go. That's what we do all day, tag team.
Hello, okay. So we in 2022, I signed a contract with a company called FreeDoc. And in Washington State, that's what a lot of the municipalities are using. And FreeDoc not only streamlines what you can search and view, but it streamlines the city as well. So what it's going to do is, like, when we have working files, it doesn't allow duplicates anymore. Things go out for signature, you publish it. So like how we've tried in the last year or so, these big projects that everybody's invested in, community, city, and we've tried to put those online. This will be the whole, anybody and everybody. So if the mayor wants to go look, or Jane Shattuck wants to go look, they're looking at a published file as we're putting things into that file. So we actually have our meeting. It's been an extremely long process because almost everybody in Washington is switching over to them. But Friday we have our onboarding, so it's coming up really close. The search terms will be easier because when you search ordinances, it's not going to bring up 3,000 different things that's about ordinances. It will bring up the ordinance file, if that makes sense. So, but I know how to search for things probably. There's different ways that you go in there. If you make a search for something, you can pick the folder that it looks in. So if you're looking for public works stuff, you would choose public works folder, and it's just like an added thing in FilePro. We'll never go completely away from FilePro for bigger items, but this is going to be a huge tool for everybody to use.
So you're meeting on Friday, and that's the first steps. For us, the users, how soon can we expect this system to go online, to become available? Do you have any idea?
I would say within the first 6 months, because what we'll do is the same thing that I did when we built the website, and as we've updated File Pro and our social medias, we'll get little bits and pieces on and have people check those out. Like when we did the website, I specifically called different citizens. Okay, try that. Okay, Scott, click on something. So we'll probably do a lot of that before we start putting a lot of bulk on there. But at this point, we're ready to go because we have completely digitized accounts payable, payroll, finance, all of our public records, and this has all been in the last 2.5 years, where we were paying for a storage unit to store all of the documents all the way back to 1983. So now we're going to move on to permitting, and so that'll all, when I'm sure somebody in here has done a public records request on a permit file, you can just go look up that permit file. So it's going to be great. It takes time, but we're 15 years ahead of where we were 2 years ago. So hopefully 6 months, but we'll also do a whole rollout online and on social media and stuff for people to start messing with it.
Thank you.
Susan?
Before you go away, sir, I'd just like to thank you, and I probably shouldn't say it because now everybody will send emails to you, but I have sent emails to you and I've asked you, how do I find something? And I have to thank you for your prompt response every time to help me, and I am very grateful for that, so thank you. My question is on finance. I was watching the Finance Committee meeting, and I understand that David Batchelor is now no longer with us. I didn't see a job opening for that position, so can you explain what's going on in finance?
On finance, David's position is a union position, and so our requirement of any union positions we have to post internally first. So it's been posted internally, and if anyone from our internal group wants the job, they can apply first, so they have the priority, and then we make a determination whether or not they're qualified or not qualified, and then we would put on the outside. So that's why there's nothing that's been posted in the public, because it's internal posting right now.
And can you tell us what his job title was?
Assistant treasurer, right?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
And I see where our code enforcer has now gone into the police academy, and congratulations to Matt.
And that's
Yeah.
what a great thing, great
Yes.
story.
My question would be then, are we going to replace him with another qualified person?
We certainly are.
Okay.
And he's accepted, correct?
We are in the beginning of the background
Okay.
process with the individual right now.
The person that's in the process, I think, will be very good to do it. I always get excited with police and fire, and then it's like it takes forever because there are background checks with it. So, which is a good thing with it. But but I think Nikki will tell you that everyone who has interacted, everyone just want to know, well, why isn't he a police officer with it? So yeah. No, but great story. A local person, makes good with it. Yes. Yes.
So this conversation triggered a memory. My wife specifically, who's big on pause, and in this abatement process that we're working on, is there a reason or to have something to do with if there's animals in that abandoned building? Is there some way that does the current code handle how those animals would get taken care of through animal control? Is it something that I'm way off base, or is it something that, as we're looking at the abatement process, we should consider animals in those derelict buildings and how to take care of those animals?
Well, I guess it would be your definition of animals.
Well, dogs and cats and
right. Yeah. So if it's like pets out there, they clear the house before they do that. And so if a human is not allowed to live there, then the animals are not allowed to live there either.
So animal control goes in?
Animal controls, and you've seen, we haven't had quite the hoarding issues that others, but we'd probably call outside resources in order to do that. But yeah. So no, we don't need to add to our code when it calls animals. This is an uninhabitable building. you can't be there, your pets can't be there.
So it's already handled in the
Yeah,
code.
yeah, exactly,
I can assure my wife that it's already taken
Yeah,
care of.
no, I mean, obviously, in Ocean Shores, pets are very important. They are part of the family, and everything is, yes, we take care of it. Yes, Nana?
Where I come from, we have a department called Vector Control. Do we have one here in Ocean Shores? Their job is to make sure that the buildings that are uninhabitable are rid of all these rodents that are in there. Because once people, either if they demolish the building, the rodents will run to the neighbors' houses. So we got to get rid of it internally before it spreads.
Yeah, so we have two sites that are the worst of the worst that we're working on. Hopefully one will go down this week. The other one that we're still working on because the bank has ownership of that. But on both of them, we've already put rodent control, and we've got traps going. That would be part of the abatement process that is charged back to the property to get there. But yes, very important because we know that when we start taking that down, you're right, the rats are going to start running around. But we baited, I think we baited them like 2 weeks ago to start working on getting it in. I know on one of them, they've taken garbage cans of rats out with it. So, yes.
So my question is then, with like the property that's still on my street, they vacated the property, but the property was left, it's rat infested. I know that Roy contacted the mortgage company on it. They've cleaned up the garbage around the place and they pulled the carpeting out of there now. But every time somebody comes in and out of there, they're going on and on about the rat feces being this deep and the rats they're in the walls and everything. So how do you handle something like that? Because now it's up for sale, but yet, they tore the carpet out now and put a for sale sign, but it's still, as far as the rodents and health hazard, is still there. So how do you go about handling something like that?
So here, that is one of the problems that we're trying to solve. That one of the ordinance that I'm trying to get the council to pass will speed up the process so that we can determine whether it's not habitable. In the house, I think that you're assuming, that you're there, it's owned by a bank, and the banks are really a pain to deal with. The bank, we call the banks, and the banks, oh yeah, we'll go out and fix it with it, and of course they don't. So our way of dealing with it is that we just need to start documenting them, finding them for not doing it. Now we don't have the right to go inside the house, so we can only deal with what's outside the house. So our ordinance really only will allow us. So if as long as, I assume they've got water and power to that house.
They do now.
Okay,
There wasn't for 3 months in there.
Yeah, so right now, what we've started to do is that I get monthly reports on water that's been turned off. So we have the list of the houses, the water's been turned off, code enforcement does the drive-by. We just don't want to have people that show up at houses that aren't supposed to be there, because that's one of the houses that we're taking down. The person that was, well, there was a group of them living there. They said that they could live there. We did the title search. They're not supposed to be, they're not on the title. So we were able to move them out because we had that. And then they had no power, they had no water to it, so it was uninhabitable. So that was the process that we're going through. With the new process that we would have, it speeds it up because we can start doing legal action at that time. We're still stuck with the case of, because I don't know, we can't, unless they invite us in, we can't do anything. But I would assume the realtor has got to disclose whatever.
Well, all you gotta do is open the front door.
Right.
People, they slap the for sale sign up, and of course, right away, since it was new up for sale,
Right.
realtors and everything, and they're
Right.
in there back out.
Right.
So, that's a concern, and I don't know if there is any resolution to it, but that's part of the concern, is they half did stuff and then
Right.
slapped a for sale sign on it. You know, and we did have the problem right after the original offenders moved out. There was people starting to try and move in, and they were taken care of by the police department. Thank you very much.
So it's a priority for me, and we've had meetings with police, building, talking to some nonprofits on what is an approach that we can take. That again, I want to be very careful, because to me there's two types of individuals that we're dealing with. We have people that are in their house and things have just got away from them, or they just don't physically, they can't do that. Those people that we want to assist, and code enforcement typically is involved with those, because usually there's junk all over the outside of there. And Nikki and her team sits down and creates an action plan with them of, these are the things you need to do. We call nonprofits to get them the help with it. So that's a whole different one. The properties that we're dealing with, and it seems like the property that was heading in that direction, that we start putting up the pressure of making sure that number one, it's so they have water and power that goes to it. The building's not falling down. We don't have squatters in there, and those are the things that we just got to get a better job of working together from water turn off to who's being there and making sure that they're supposed to be there. Biggest problem that we have is dealing with people that own property that do not live in Ocean Shores, because they've rented it out and there's not any accountability. But if any of you have spent any time talking with Roy is a go-getter, and Roy is, sometimes I just gotta hold him back a little bit, because he is very good at handling situations. In the past, maybe we've kind of let things slide, but I really want to do something where we can break the cycle, because what to me is really frustrating, if we abate a piece of property wherever it's going to be, then that property gets resold to somebody else, and then they bring in a mobile home or something like that. I'm fine with mobile homes, but someone that basically it's the same person that's in there because they got it really cheap, and then they rent it out, and I'm thinking that we probably, our next step after we get this abatement thing done, take a look at some of our rental rules, because there's some that you just drive down the street and you go, it can't look good, it doesn't look good outside, it's not going to look good inside. But we're working on it. First thing is get the abatement thing done, and I think we've got 6 properties. We don't have the money to do all the abatement, but at least if we can get the 2 down, that'll be a good start for us.
Sorry, Robert. So basically, though, where I'm at, and I'm just trying to verify this, it's basically stuck right now because you guys can't go in without anybody allowing you in. Of course, the mortgage company's not going to say, yeah, come on in. See, my concern is, and I'm looking for if you have any answers, if they sell this, they get in there, of course, if something starts getting done, those rats are going to go all over the place.
They'll come visit you.
They're going to be in my house and all my neighbors' houses. Is there anything that's in that abatement or nuisance that's going to help us out there if we get to that point?
Yeah, I think there is, I think it's under the nuisance ordinance, that if you've got it, that we can require them to put the traps down.
Okay.
To get there. We'd have to look at that, but I think it is, because that's what we're doing with abatement, that we're pushing back on them. And then on the good thing, it takes time, but I know that my building inspectors, that we had we had a property where someone was doing their own work on it, and it was on a mobile home and didn't meet the requirements, and they red tagged it, and they had to undo everything with it. So I believe I have a building department that understands what shouldn't be allowed in Ocean Shores.
Yeah, my concern is just going forward,
Right.
because it appears what's gonna happen is they're gonna try and sell it, have somebody else deal with the problem, and so I'm just trying to be prepared if we're gonna have an avenue when that comes along.
And my hope is that when they sell it, someone's going to go through and fix it up. They're going to have to get permits, and our building inspectors are going to be in there going, this is what you need to do to get there. You know, health department can help us to a little bit if they have access and we've got evidence of something that we need to fix.
Thank you, and Roy has been very helpful.
Yeah, Roy's
Yes.
great. And Nikki, and I mean, our entire team's good. I mean, it's really good that they're working. You had a question, and then.
On our roads here, and I'm not only this off of our neighbors that have higher populations, why can't we just have a set 30 miles per hour? I live on Point Brown, and if you look at the permits that have been issued to build, it's homes on Point Brown. So we're at a point now where Point Brown is getting full of homes. So I'm trying to understand why it gets the 35 miles an hour, which people exceed. And the follow-up on it is I jumped on the bandwagon for a bicycle. And when I finish Point Brown and it turns to the right, the bicycle lane's gone. And I know there's a new company that is also renting bicycles. And so my concern is we've still got this high rate of speed. And I was blind. I couldn't see. I couldn't look even behind me because the lane just disappeared out of nowhere. Now I bought mirrors, and I'm going to be good on the road. But I'm just wondering why Aberdeen and Hoquiam can run at 30. Now somebody had argued, well, Aberdeen's got 45. Yeah, that's at the exit of the town. But why can't we just have a common speed? It would be easy for everybody.
Well, I was in town when they changed the speed limit, and huge conversation going back and forth of whether we should lower it, raise it, or whatever. I don't know. I know one of the things that I am working with the Council of Governments and talking to their transportation people and trying to get a transportation expert to kind of give me an idea of not so much of what you're just talking about, but we have issues on Dolphin, and trying to figure out how do we slow traffic down in some cases, but it still keep it going. So it's what I thought was an easy conversation is a much more difficult conversation because as we do it, and I know that I'm talking with Nikki too about different speed zones. So it's something that I'm trying to get a basic look of what we should do and what are the things that we should just ask ourselves as a city of what we're trying to accomplish and what we can do. But I also know that when they were talking about changing the speed zone right by the police and fire station, huge debate. I mean, it was just like it went on and on about it. But I hear your concern because I'm kind of the same thing because I'm driving and my wife drives me. She doesn't drive me crazy, but she always says I drive too slow, and because she always tells me that I'm in a different speed zone because it changes as you're driving down Point Brown with it. So I understand where you're coming from. I don't have an answer. I'm hoping to get an expert to at least advise us, start working on Dolphin, and then take a look at Point Brown. I agree with you on the bike lanes. I think that there's things that we probably can do to improve the ability to use bikes throughout the town with it, but some of it's getting grants and things like that. But I believe Ocean Shores should be a more pedestrian friendly and more bike friendly town because we're vacation place with it, and exercise. So I hear you. I don't have any solutions. There was someone over. You haven't asked a question yet? Yeah.
I was just concerned on what you're saying. That'd be a great opportune time with the new contract with the golf course. I'm a new resident. I've been here 2 weeks and off the golf course. And yeah, that would be a great opportune time for signage, because I'm there now with dogs and the speed there on Canal and such, and I'm going to take Canal, not Browns Point, going slow, because, you know, I got issues going on. But long story short, I'm from the city of Tacoma, and I've heard, and already I love hearing the concerns and such about the chickens, and my concern's 5G, but going through the schools, I'm, you know, just really involved and excited to be here, and I want to thank you all for having all this, what I would feel to be part of. But again, I'm concerned why the golf course now at this time with the golf course carts. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I don't talk publicly. Golf carts going through and across, and the deers and such. There's no signage for anything, and there's so many blind spots. I've seen a couple golf carts already almost get wiped out.
Well, the golf course
I'm
should-
going to write a sign and
But
put it on.
they should be only going across the roads on the areas that are actually signed.
I'm in the middle of a golf course in back of my yard, in front of my yard.
Oh.
A fishbowl. But, so I'm just saying, I see so many possibilities. But again, with the speeds and road signage would be a great combination to future for contracts for the golf course. The things that issues that can be combined together to benefit everyone. I think that's kind of.
So I have Jane in the back and then you.
I was going to
Or
say
Jan.
on the sign, on the speed, I agree with all the other roads, but the downtown where the ice cream shop is and Los Hombres and the other, you know, we need to slow down the truckers. We need to, they come through fairly fast there. And I like your little sign that you put out that blinks at us that says slow down and we're going 32 and a 25. If there's some way we could get a couple of those more downtown is what I call that, and get some of the bigger truckers to slow down. We sit there and have an ice cream cone and just, you know, they're just whipping by, and we know that. Most of us know that. And I like the contractors. I'm not opposed at all.
No, again, we're looking at opportunities of what we need to do, and one of it, and part of it on Point Brown, and not saying that this is going to solve it, but you know, we're going to have the crosswalk put in place, and that's going to change some traffic dynamics. And I know that we talked about the possibility of additional roundabouts when we were doing the Point Brown project, which somebody, I know, shaking your head with it. Well, but again, so we're looking, again, I don't have any answers, but again, I hear you, I know what you guys are saying. Yes.
Oh, I was going to mention, I'm a big fan of speed bumps. They definitely slow you down. But the other thing was on the golf courses. Are we considering ever combining the community club and the golf course in terms of, I mean, the community club's got excellent management, and they mow lawns and things too, you know, maybe.
I would say that if I, as mayor, had the ability for the city and the community club to work together on mutual product, I would be a very successful mayor. And again, they're great. It just, for some reason, there just has not been a working together.
We do have
thing
meetings together.
with it. And I do have meetings to get together, but perfect world, yes, that would be right. Right. Yeah, Nancy.
Yeah, in reference to what Robert was saying and the recent discussion, and thank you for the information regarding Dolphin. I think it's in our RCWs for the state. It breaks it out for residential, and so it's going to be 25 for residential, and unfortunately, Point Brown, it's a combination, you know, business, you know, residential, but 25 is good.
Very quick, I knew somebody talked about speed bumps. If your loved one is in the back of the ambulance and being intubated or having an IV started and there's a speed bump, good luck. I've been there.
Nancy has already
I'm on
researched that. There's new technology.
Yes, they can get through, Richard, it's okay. They're not going to have to go through the bump because of their wheelbase.
Right.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
Susan.
Speed cushion.
You had asked and have been saying for some time,
I've been
how
working
can we
on this
help
for years.
seniors?
Trust me.
So when I left the council meeting, and I am one, a senior obviously, when I left the council meeting on Monday, it was pouring with rain and it was dark. And I could not see the sides of the roads. And you know, and you've heard me, particularly when I was on council, why can we not do the striping of the roads more often? And I think it's every third year that we do a third of the city. So if you really truly wanted to help those of us who want to be able to drive around town at night, please look to giving the white lines on the side or something else that would be able to help us see the road.
Well, I know Scott and our future project manager that as far as the whole road preservation and striping is on their list.
Well, we need to fund it if we're going to do it every year. I mean, it's
Right.
the council to get it
Then
funded.
we just need to petition council to fund it, is that what you're saying? So-
Well,
And I have to look at the workload. Let me look at the workload as well. So,
right.
but-
Well, and part of it is getting a plan because we were behind last year with it. So obviously there are things that we look at, but that actually is on our list. I don't have the answer, but it's on our list with it. So because I agree. I mean, one of the difficulties that we have as seniors as they get older, especially driving at night, you know, visibility, and we don't have street lights like other cities do. Yeah, it's something that we need to look at.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, none.
Bringing up seniors, I asked, I don't know how far back, but we have an AED that's dysfunctional out there in the hallway.
Oh, I already got answers for you on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I just signed ordering, is it 8? 8. So we'll have the replacement there. We'll have one in the library. We'll have one in the permit center. We'll have 2 portable ones with our police.
We actually ordered extra for out here. And
Yeah, we'll have one outside the mayor's office. You know. yeah. So no, we've ordered them. They're on their way.
That is great,
Yeah.
that is great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a comment, we're not getting older, we're maturing.
Well, maturing. No, I agree.
Some of us.
Some of
Yes,
us.
sir.
Some of us are matured, but my point on the speed limit, from city limits to city limits, should always be the same. Doesn't matter. 25 miles an hour, that's it. And if you put speed bumps on that, you're going to chase the tourists off.
But the bicycles make more tourists come out. That's why I thought it was neat somebody else started up a second one.
So we're at 5 o'clock, so any final questions? Yes, Susan.
Now that you're full-time, do you have a day and times that people can come and find you in your office?
I would say that if you look at my calendar, it's really full, that you can typically, if you send me an email or send me give me a call, that we usually find out time and we sit down. I was just talking to someone about the Oktoberfest that they're working on right before I came over here. So
Nothing regular at this point?
No, I originally that was kind of my vision, but because of all the different things that in there, that it's difficult to commit that time because it's like today, I was dealing with some personnel issues. I had a meeting in Aberdeen, So what I prefer is, if you want to meet with me about whatever it is, send me an email, and I'll see what my time is available and put you in there with it. But yeah, nope. I think my calendar is pretty much full every single day, right?
He brings up constantly, like, I want to have a 1 day a week coffee, anybody can come, and I just let him forget about it because the calendar just fills up so fast.
Right. And I would suggest if you want to meet with me, and I would love to meet with you and whatever, just make sure that I get it put on my calendar, because in the morning I look at my calendar and whatever it says on my calendar is where I'm going, because things pop up on my calendar that I didn't even set my schedule for with it. So, but yes. So I'm more than willing to talk to anybody about anything with it, and because again, the best ideas for the city come from you guys, and there's a lot of times there's stuff that I don't even know. I mean, and I can't fix it if I don't know what it is. And there's going to be some times, and I'm sure that I've talked to some of you out here, that I'm just not going to agree with what you're telling me, you know. But that's okay too. I mean, it's a two-way conversation with it. So, again, my whole goal is just make Ocean Shores a better place. And when I find something that we need to fix, we'll fix it. Yes.
So being new here, you're new at this, and you're a new mayor?
I'm not as new as I used to be. I think it's like a year and a half. Yeah, year and a half. I think.
I'd like to hear for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I'm just listening to questions. And what is your biggest concern for this city that you would like to work on specifically as a priority?
Well, erosion is a big topic because erosion will impact our infrastructure, and I'm not getting any traction with our state legislators on that, and the jetty. But probably if there's anything that if there's something that I could really do as a mayor is to connect the city more, especially when it comes to seniors. I'm really concerned people that just don't get out of their houses, you know, and it might be because I'm looking around, I think almost everyone here moved here thinking Ocean Shore is a great place to live, would love it, and then things change in your life, and say your significant other passes away or whatever, you just don't get out, and you're not social, especially with COVID. If there's something that the city could do working with citizens to get more engagement and get a healthier population to get there, that would be to me would be great, you know, just bringing things, because I'm always amazed at every time I talk to any citizen in here of where you come from, what your history is, and what talent that you bring. And if we could just harness that Ocean Shores, really, we could be very innovative of doing stuff. And if we had that power, then when, like, Susan's on the aging committee, the governor, that, you know, she can go and go, hey, you know, you should test that out in Ocean Shores because we got people that are willing to do that. Or I could talk to our state legislator and go, look, you know, Ocean Shores, this is an issue. You know, we're willing to commit the resources to do it. Or I've got a volunteer group that can do it. You know, so there's just so much we can do if we could just harness all that energy with it. But all right. Thank you for coming.